Say that over the last 2, maybe 3 years, we keep hearing the word accountability being thrown around. And accountability has become more of a buzzword than gaslighting. And just like the word gaslighting, accountability is being used very incorrectly. I can honestly say that of all the times I've heard the word accountability being used, the speaker is seeking punishment for their target and not actual accountability. And we all know that accountability and punishment are two vastly different concepts. They intersect often, but they serve fundamentally different purposes. So, understanding the distinction between them is crucial for fostering personal growth, nurturing healthy relationships, and creating effective systems of justice. So, taking accountability means acknowledging and taking responsibility for one's actions, decisions, and whatever consequences come along with it. It involves a conscious effort to recognize your mistakes, learn from them, and make amends wherever that's possible. Accountability is an internal process driven by self awareness and a commitment to personal integrity and growth. One of the keys to taking accountability is having ownership over your actions. When an individual takes accountability, they accept the fact that their actions are what caused a particular outcome. They don't deflect blame onto others or onto external circumstances. For instance, if an employee misses a deadline, taking accountability would mean that they acknowledge their oversight rather than blaming whatever workload that they have and their failure to complete onto other colleagues or onto their boss or managers. Another factor would be acknowledgement of the impact. Acknowledge that your actions or your words or whatever the situation you created had an impact on other people, places, and things. So, accountability involves recognizing how one's actions have affected other people. This acknowledgement is crucial for understanding the broader implications of your behavior. For example, if a manager's decision leads to team conflict, taking accountability would involve understanding and addressing the impact on the team's morale and their productivity by that manager. Then we have your commitment to change. Taking accountability is not just about admitting your faults. It also involves a commitment to making positive changes to prevent similar issues in the future. And this might include learning new skills or seeking guidance or just changing your overall behavior. An example would be a student who fails a test, recognizing their need for some better study habits and going out and seeking help that they need to improve. It's okay to get a tutor so that you can learn how to study in order for you to retain the information so that you can do better with your classwork. Punishment, on the other hand, is an external consequence being imposed on someone for their actions. It's typically intended to deter undesirable behavior and enforce rules of social norms. Punishment can take various forms, like fines, imprisonment, public shaming, or even some disciplinary measures. It just depends on how the punishment falls with the rule. Now, let's take a look at some of the key aspects of punishment. The first aspect is the imposition of consequences. Punishment is about imposing a penalty or consequence for a specific action or behavior. It is an external response designed to enforce compliance and adherence to rules. For instance, a student caught cheating on an exam might receive a failing grade, they might get suspended, and depending on the level of cheating, you could be expelled from the school altogether. Another aspect would be deterrence. One of the primary goals of punishment is to deter the individual and others from repeating the undesirable behavior. The idea is that the fear of facing similar consequences is going to discourage future infractions. For example, imposing fines for traffic violations aims to deter drivers from breaking the traffic laws. If you have to pay $75 for going 10, 20 miles over the speed limit, hopefully you get that point and don't want to pay after you get the first ticket. And then if you get a second ticket, the fine is bigger. That's more of a deterrent. And each time it happens, the punishment gets. And great. Last but not least, we have retribution. Punishment often carries an element of retribution where the consequence is seen as a form of payback or justice for whatever wrongdoing the individual commits. For instance, imprisonment for committing a crime serves as retribution. Delivering justice by ensuring that the offender faces consequences for their actions. So that's like the extreme, but you can also consider smaller contexts. Like, for instance, a student who cheats on the exam, the school may impose a punishment in the form of suspension, or even smaller, just give them a failing grade. While this action aims to deter the student and others from cheating in the future, it may not address the underlying reasons for said behavior or promote genuine understanding and growth. So there will have to be some sort of follow up, no matter what the consequences of punishment are. Now, what's the difference between the two? Punishment and accountability lies with internal and external forces. You are never going to truly hold someone accountable because accountability is an internal process of self reflection and responsibility, while punishment is an external consequence imposed by an authority or institution. We can focus on growth versus deterrence. So, accountability focuses on personal growth and improvement, encouraging individuals to learn from their mistakes, while punishment, on the other hand, primarily aims to deter undesirable behavior and enforce rules. Then you have the ownership versus retribution. Accountability involves taking ownership of one's actions and their impact on others, while punishment often carries a retributive aspect, seeking to administer justice through penalties. You have long term versus short term. Accountability promotes long term positive change and builds trust and integrity, while punishment may achieve short term compliance, but can also lead to resentment and a lack of genuine understanding. Finding a balance between accountability and punishment is crucial for effective discipline and growth. While punishment may sometimes be necessary to uphold rules and deter harmful behavior, it should be accompanied by opportunities for accountability and personal development. Whenever we hear these conversations surrounded by accountability, they often omit what actual accountability looks like, which is having an individual look within themselves. So, anytime we hear these conversations where the word accountability is used, it's often prefixed by the word hold, such as hold them, him, her accountable. which automatically makes me think that the speaker isn't seeking for the receiver to advance their human experience. They just simply want the receiver of their words to be punished for something, even if that something didn't directly affect their own personal lives. It's just like when we hear people use the word gaslight to describe situations where another individual just simply disagreed with them on a topic. They didn't actually gaslight them or make them uh, try to make them believe something that they know isn't true. Encouraging a culture of accountability means creating an environment where individuals feel safe to admit mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then make amends for those mistakes. This approach fosters trust, it fosters collaboration and continuous improvement. For example, a workplace encourages employees to take accountability for their mistakes, but it also provides support for professional development. And they're likely to see higher levels of trust from the employees and better productivity. On the other hand, relying solely on punishment can create a climate of fear and defensiveness, hindering genuine growth and understanding. So there will be no accountability because everyone's on edge, always waiting for the time to come where they have to defend themselves. In an educational setting, a punitive approach to discipline might lead to students hiding their mistakes or avoiding risk, whereas an accountability focused approach is going to encourage them to learn from their experiences and develop their resilience.
And twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of